Hi, and welcome to our self-help, self-shelf section. Would have been a bit of a tongue twister there from Theresa here at Love Authentic Me, where I've been reading extracts from books that are on the shelf that may not get read. And because I have issues with myself with sitting down and actually reading, which I do enjoy, but this actually makes me do it, makes me accountable. However, I prefer to listen to audiobooks because you can play this video while you're off doing stuff in its little bite-sized parts for you, which started with a challenge that I did for 10 minutes a day reading. And led to me reading this beautiful book, Freedom Seca, from Beth Kempton, Live More, Worry Less, and Do What You Love. And so we are on chapter 11. The first few chapters of my reading were on Facebook Lives. There's a link, I shall put a link below for those videos and over there on Facebook. And chapter 9 is in this list, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be able to download those other videos and get them over so they're in this list. But each of these chapters are relevant, and you are probably watching because there's something in this title that it's about fit to fly, emerging into the world and learning how to fly, learning how to spread your wings. And of course, this is not like an audio book of me just reading pure and simple. I'm giving you my wisdom, my knowledge along the way, but please bear with me. A little self-conscious about reading, which is why I push myself to do this. So, chapter 11, fit to fly, emerging into the world and learning how to fly. After all the exploration, what are your master keys? Which freedom keys were you drawn to? Which were obvious first choice for you? Which offered an unexpected way out? How did you feel to lead your mind away from thinking about the cage bars to a point where the focus of your thoughts start to change? Now, we all sometimes are trapped within the cage of our mind and our thoughts and the way we see the world, and we don't realize that by changing those thoughts, those beliefs about a person, about a situation, we can open that cage and fly. And I believe that's what she's leading into. If you have tried one or two and still feel stuck, try another and another until you find the freedom key, which is what each of the chapters are called, different freedom keys, which serves you best at different times. If the freedom key you were first drawn to isn't working for you, it might be due to trying to retrofit your current life into a past version of it. Instead, try finding a way that works in this moment. Knowing the next week, next month, next year, you might need to activate a particular freedom key in a completely different way or choose a different freedom key altogether. When I'm stuck and I journal, I come back to the same themes over and over. I need space, quiet time to write, time in nature, proper time with my family, good food, exercise, inspiring conversations, the promise of adventure, a moment to be grateful. You may need these things too, or you may need something entirely different. Whatever you need, you will find the essence of it in every time you return to your freedom keys or your core values, your core beliefs. That's obviously how she's packaged in her book. She calls them freedom keys. To me, this is your essence of you, your most authentic you, meaning me, being authentic me. It's easy to feel guilty for doing things that on the surface might seem selfish and have little or no immediate tangible results. But if you can connect the action of a freedom key, it can help you see the bigger picture. You realise it's not selfish, but self-care, and there is a difference. Take small steps and be patient. It's important to escape the cage before you try to fly. Otherwise, you'll get inspired, take off, but then smash up against the cage bars and get frustrated all over again. Get out first, take off later. One step at a time, find the key, open the door. The key is finding what is stopping you doing what it is you want to do. And think of filling up your cup first, doing that work. Often, lots of us are drawn to the self-help area. We love all the analogies, we love all the fluff, the lovely words, and it's inspiring, and we want it. But when it actually comes to doing the deep core shadow work, the resistance comes up. And that's the key for me. That's where the work needs to go. That wound, the wound is where the light enters us, is the quote from Rumi that I love. Move away from the darkness and the stuckness towards the lightness and the light. Now, I would say that in your first steps, you move into the things that feel good. You move into what it is that inspires you, what makes you feel better, and have that focus. And that's how you start. But then you've got to go deeper in the layers of the onions, and you might hit that cage. And to go beyond that, that's when you need to go to that place. And actually don't fear the darkness, because you are light. If you go into those dark places, remember you are the light, and it will expand on that and open those areas and flood it with that light and that love. That's the emerging. When a bird or an animal is in captivity, is released into the wild, it doesn't burst out of its cage and race headlong in its new world. It emerges timidly, often looking back several times at the cage that has kept it safe before it tentatively moves away. On occasion, birds and animals have been seen to celebrate gloriously upon release from captivity, but in most cases they hover near the cage, clearly stunned by the reality of their situation. The truth is, even though the door is open, the cage is still there. The more they know they have to make the choice to leave, but they are terrified of the unknown. They have no idea what to do or where to go. And so it is with us. And I've seen this, an experiment where they have fleas and they put them in a glass jar, and you see them jumping. They take them out and they put them in, and they still stay within that and only jump to those limits, because that limit, that box, is what they've set. Now that box might be your belief that you're only worth X amount, or that you can only earn this, or because you've got this qualification you could only do this. It's still a construction of our conscious belief structure, and we're in Virgo season at the moment when I'm recording this, and there's a Mercury retrograde happening. So that energy here is about, and contained in this video, is about how we look at our structures, how we readdress things, how we do things differently. Maybe taking, oh, that works, but that doesn't work for me anymore. Let's shift it. Let's do it this way. And actually, I was listening to Louise L. Hay recently again, and I love You Can Heal Your Life. I will do that one. I'm working through that with my Patreon members, actually. How, there's no set rules. Just because you've believed something called for your life and you choose that belief, it served you at the time. It may not serve you now. Just you changing it. There's this, oh, well, I'm loyal to that belief system or that structure or that religious system, or it may have served its purpose in getting to you where you are now. The point of power is always in the moment. Letting go of things doesn't mean you would, and her terminology, I love this, you wouldn't dig through the garbage to create a gourmet meal for yourself. So why dig through old belief systems to create the reality that you are in? And so it is with us. We're rarely trapped one moment and free the next. We're rarely ready to soar as soon as the door opens. Law of increments, tiny steps. Same with vibration too. Although our cork can float up when we're thinking of love and joy. Sometimes it takes a little bit of ascending in those emotional fields, or releasing and letting go in order to get to that point. And the cage doesn't usually disappear as soon as we leave it. The reality is more complex. We hover at the door, tempted forward by potential, those, I've started to believe I can do more, forwarded by the potential, but held back by fear. And fear can lead to anger and frustration. We can't escape that, or we're stuck in certain ways, beliefs, triggers even. And then we repeat that pattern until we learn it. We'll keep repeating it. It'll keep coming up for us to clear it, because the cage is still there. We have at the door, we temper forward by potential, but we're held back by fear. The metamorphosis, the butterfly. When I return home from the art retreat I mentioned in chapter 6, Mr. K said I was like a firefly flitting around excitedly, emanating bursts of light. So that excitement about the change. The height lasted a good 48 hours until it eventually faded and I was left languishing in the dark. All I wanted to do was make art, but every time I tried, I didn't look like the art I wanted to make. As an artist, I can relate to that. It's never what I have in my mind. It's always aspiring to that and then aspiring again. I needed somehow to describe what had just happened, but when I started at the art supplies, stared there at the art supplies and had seemed so full of potential in California, and the book I made whilst there, they didn't add up to the carousel of experience I'd just had. In amongst these giant redwoods on that ancient tribal land, something had happened to me from the inside out. If you had watched from above, you would have just seen a girl having fun, cutting and sticking and painting and laughing, but if you had come close and looked into my eyes, you would have seen a pull of wonder, my heart fluttering a little faster, my mind whirling with new possibilities. I could feel a wholeness, unanticipated expansion, an opening, a reveling of a brave new world. That's how I feel about the world we're moving into. But back home, I felt at sea. I knew I could never go back to the way things were, separate from my creativity, but I also had no idea what to do next. I had opened the cage door, but was teetering on the ledge with no idea where or how to fly. At the art retreat, I experienced a number of aha moments and went home forever shifted. But the actual change from my old life to my new cracked open life was not an overnight transformation. When I arrived back from the USA, I didn't disembark from the plane as someone who believed they could legitimately have a creative career as soon as they'd unpacked. Although I definitely dared to dream it might be possible one day, I was far from confident and a long way from making it happen. In the end, it took several months of exploring, journaling, taking classes, trying new things and searching for my vision of creativity to start making sense of the metamorphosis. The next couple of years were a time of emerging, with some major moves forward, some debilitating backward steps, many happy moments, some lost moments, times of joy, times of shattered confidence, and a persistent wondering what the hell I thought I was doing. Persistent wondering what the hell I was doing. You see, the caterpillar doesn't know what's happening when he's in the cocoon. He doesn't know that the ache in his shoulders is the cartilage of his wings hardening. he doesn't know that the tightening around his body is the swelling of his winged feathers as they develop the markings that will identify him in the next phase of his life. He doesn't understand the strange feeling in his scalp as his antennae push up and out. He is asleep through the entire transformational process, dreaming of leaves and raindrops and sunshine. The day he emerged from his cocoon, I'm going to stop at the end of this page, I want to keep these bite-sized. The day he emerged from his cocoon, he senses an unfolding. He looks different. He feels different. He is capable of new things. Instead of just leaves, he is now drawn to a new kind of beauty in flowers, which he starts to see everywhere. He flutters around, testing out his new wings, which had been hidden inside all along. Only then does he know what to do in his new life. For me, the shift had been so huge. I knew that one day I would want to earn my living in a more creative way, but for the time being, I stayed in my job to let myself explore without the pressure of trying to make it pay, which is my journey is more about, and I would talk about that another day. It felt safer that way. I'm not normally one to go for safe options, but this was completely uncharted territory and I had no idea what lay ahead. Whether or not you fly depends on what you do at the threshold of the cage. Will you teeter at the edge and allow your fear to keep you trapped, or will you step out into the unknown by the promise of what lies beyond? Remember our definition. Freedom is the willingness and ability to choose your own path and experience your life as your true self. And for now, we'll leave it at that. Love and blessings from me, Theresa Janday at Love Authentic Me.